Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where we discuss everything about Skullgirls Mobile. So as a sequel to a video I made a couple of months ago, we will be talking about gold variants and the best ones you should look out for, especially if you're new to the game. Gold variants are often very strong with respectable stats in attack, allowing them to punch through the toughest defenders with their abilities. Most gold variants have a place in this game, whether as a defender, a strong niche counter in Rift, or an offensive powerhouse. There are also a lot of gold variants, and to just pick 10 is literally very difficult. There will be a lot of arguments with this list for sure in the comments down below. I'm ready for it. And with that in mind, I think it is very necessary to lay down the restrictions and limitations of this list. I will be choosing 10 gold variants that are strong for general use. This is, after all, a video for beginners who probably won't care too much about the specific matchups in Rift battles. So do please keep that in mind. Just because a variant is not listed here does not mean that they are bad per se. They are usually more specific to use or is not suitable for beginners at all. Just another disclaimer here, the order in this list is random and is no indication of their strength. I've decided that putting numbers on things can be quite distracting from what I'm trying to say, and it is best to keep it as simple as possible. Without further ado, we're going straight into the random list of the best gold variants in this game. First one up is HARLEQUIN. And I've mentioned HARLEQUIN a lot of times before in previous videos, so this is just going to be a repeat because she's good for still the same reasons. Boasting the second highest attack stat of all Cerebellas, tied with Criminal Mind, HARLEQUIN is more than just an offensive powerhouse. Her signature ability to boost and reduce the cooldown of special moves is a unique ability that is shared by nobody else. Special moves can deal tons of damage, even more than blockbusters for some funny reason. And they are also very easily spammable. This makes HARLEQUIN a powerful support for variants like Xbot and Inkling that likes to spam their projectile special moves and deal tons of damage. Best yet, she's available to everyone as a reward from prize fights. She's definitely a top pick for beginners and I could not recommend her enough. Next we have Phantom Threads, a very powerful Fuqua variant. With access to Loves of Love and Inevitable Snuggle, Phantom Threads can deal unblockable damage while healing herself back to full easily. But that's just Fuqua's kit. Add her ridiculously strong signature ability, and you got yourself an offensive powerhouse. A simple knockdown removes a buff, which is crazy good, and then you get blessings for a safety net, which can be converted into stacks of Enrage. Phantom Threads already has a respectable attack stat at 11k, which is the third highest attack stat of all Fuqua variants. Sprinkle a bit more Enrage stacks and she's going to hit massively hard and no buffs is going to stop her. Phantom Threads is a strong one and be very happy if you have her. We're going to switch it up a bit with IMMORAL Fiber, one of the most infamous defenders in the entire game. Since this is a beginner's guide, I don't actually recommend you to invest in her yet because she won't do much for you early on. However, keep her in your team because in late game, she becomes one of the most annoying defenders in Rift. With a high amount of HP and defense on her, you can be sure that her death will inevitably bring another fighter down with her, which makes her very scary in Rift. The only way to successfully ignore her ability is through precision and hex. This method works, but volatility from Double's marketability can make it slightly harder to accomplish this if she rolls invincibility or even final stand to delay her eventual death. A powerful defender with a stupid ability that a lot of people like to spam in their base. Again, I don't generally recommend investing in a defender early on, but I think it will be a serious crime if she's not included here. Coming up next, we have Evergreen Evil, another double defender that also works as a support. I've already talked about how volatility can screw players over by RNG. Evergreen Evil takes it just a tad further by increasing the duration of buffs by a whopping 5 seconds. You can use her as an offensive support to make your own buffs last longer, which is pretty good, with variants like Sketchy, Surgeon General, and even Inner Pieces. Do not underestimate this ability as it also fills up her meter as well. This is powerful for defenders in Rift battles and prize fight, as she is going to come with a fully charged blockbuster more often than not. She may not kill you, but doubles tier 3 blockbuster is a really good way to waste time and make your opponents time out. Her first ability is also a classic annoyance, giving her regen and thorns just to spite on players and make it slightly harder to kill her if you're not using the correct element. Evergreen Evil is overall a really good support and defender, all in one package. She may not be as popular as Immoral Fiber, but if you don't kill her fast enough, she may prove to be an even greater menace. To counter the two aforementioned defenders, we have Red Velvet, which is a classic staple in Rift battles. She's the best user of Hex, which completely shouts down all defenders by removing their signature abilities. That is stupidly a powerful debuff, which makes her one of the best variants in this game. She does come with some drawbacks though. Her attack stat is very pitiful at only 8.5k at max level. This is not going to tear through any walls. Aside from the Hex though, Eliza has one of the best kits in the game with access to stun, a command grab, curse, and importantly, the best buff removal tool in the entire game. Use her to get rid of buffs, inflicts Hex, stun an opponent, and then quickly tag her out to bring in another fighter that is much suited for offense. For early game players, you might not need Red Velvet's arsenal of tools yet if you're still focusing primarily on prize fights. And other Eliza variants can fill her role for a little while, since curse and buff removal is often enough to tackle most defenders in the game early on. But when you start to get into the big leagues, Red Velvet is going to be the savior that you need. We're going back to the offensive powerhouse category with Primed. Primed is a simple variant that can gain 5 stacks of Enrage very easily. Coupled with a respectable attack stat at 11k, similar to Phantom Threads, Primed is going to hit hard and shred through walls without much difficulty. However, what makes Primed crazy good really comes down to Parasol's kit, which is loaded with a lot of utility and buffs. I've mentioned before that Eliza has one of the best kits in the game. Well, Parasol is also part of that small party. Parasol has access to Immunity Taunt to ignore all debuffs, Precision Taunt which ignores signature abilities, and Critical Mass as a marquee ability which further boosts her damage output. This is the definition of a true offensive killer. Primed is going to decimate foes and her tools allows her to do her job efficiently. The only thing she lacks is buff control, which is kind of provided by Canopy Bounce. It is not the best tool for it, but it can do the job about half of the time. It's better than nothing. Just like HARLEQUIN, she is also a prize fight reward, so I cannot recommend her enough for beginners. Quickly invest in Primed and you'll breeze through most content easily. The next one in this list is a variant that is debatable to be included, but Mean One is a one-of-a-kind variant that actually needs the opponent to have lots of buff to be incredibly good. With an attack stat that is just shy of 13k, she can gain more enrage stacks for every buff the opponent gets to increase their damage further. That is absolutely insane. Then she also has a chance to convert the opponent's buffs into debuffs with a projectile hit. I just want to remind you that Argus Agony, the blockbuster, is full of projectiles, so a single use of that blockbuster will pretty much eliminate all the opponent's buffs without worry. This is incredibly good. Now, Peacock's kit isn't the best out there, but it does include an immunity taunt, so she also has that going for her. She's pretty vanilla when not against buff heavy opponents, but with a pretty high attack stat, she is still a terrifying offensive fighter for prize fights. I do have to mention that currently, Reflect damage is the name of the game, and Mean One with a really high attack stat and more enrage is going to be inflicted with tons of reflect damage. So do be careful and pay attention to your opponent's variants. Mean One is crazy good against the right opponents, but will absolutely destroy herself when faced with the wrong kind. We're near the end here, and next is our last defender variant, Blue Screen. Just like Immoral Fiber, Blue Screen is another staple in defensive teams for Rift battles. Her ability to gain armor every 5 seconds is a big synergy point for Frost Armor, one of the meta catalysts in the game. She has pitiful attacks, so don't think about using her for offense, and she is unlikely to kill any variant in defense either. Her main purpose is purely to annoy the opponent and making it slightly harder to kill her with a blockbuster. She really only shines best in Rift battles, and again, if you're a beginner, she's not a variant I would suggest investing early on. I have to say though, she's one of the best users of RoboFortune's Prestige ability, which reflects damage based on the number of buffs she has. With Prestige on, she suddenly becomes really scary to face against. If you've played Rift before, you know how annoying Blue Screen can be, one of the best Rift defenders in the game. Coming up next, we have BIO-EXORCIST, and this is one of the best early game options for beginners to use. BIO-EXORCIST has a pretty weak attack stat, but her ability to drain the opponent's health per second is really powerful and allows her to kill even the toughest defenders as long as you can keep the opponent in a combo loop. We're talking about Squiggly here, and it is so easy to do that. Furthermore, Squiggly's kit also has access to Immunity Taunt and Curse alongside Armor Break, which means she can still hold herself up against buff-heavy opponents. The reason why I say that she's one of the best early game option is because she has her own inbuilt safety net from her second signature ability. So if you're still learning the game and trying to get used to how the fight works, BIO-EXORCIST is your best bet. The only downside is that you have to be lucky to pull her. I wanted to say that she starts to fall off late game, but that's not necessarily true either. A strict 2% drain is still powerful regardless and is really good even in Rift battles. I personally should use BIO-EXORCIST more often myself. Finally, we come to the last variant, which is Surgeon General. She is hands down the best offensive support variant in the game. She can deal some damage on her own from the permanent enrage, but this should not be the ability you rely on. Her second ability is where she shines the most. Providing immunity and health regen to your teammates is insanely good in almost every situation. Furthermore, as a Valentine, she has access to Trauma Center and Blockbusters that can revive your teammates. What more can I say here? Be very grateful if you manage to pull Surgeon General early on, because she really is the best support and literally nobody else is even comparable. Alright y'all, so that is the end of this video. I highlighted 10 gold variants that are really good for different purposes, and I hope this video helps a lot of new players that are getting into the game. There are tons of variants, and choosing which ones to invest can be quite tricky, and I know that there's gonna be some arguments about which variants should have been put in this list. Hopefully this helps. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this list. Feel free to share your own top 10 list. I'll be very interested to know what other people think. Be sure to give a like and subscribe if you find this content useful, and thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video.